Welcome to the Fire Protection Engineering Podcast, where we ignite conversation about fire protection engineering, safety, and innovation.
I'm Kelly Kidwell, and this is Ben Casey. We're both passionate fire protection engineers here to bring you the latest trends, in depth insights, and expert advice from across the industry.
From designing fire safety systems to navigating code compliance to business development, we'll explore how engineering can help save lives and protect property.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or new to the world of fire protection, we'll dive into the critical roles engineers play in safeguarding the built environment.
So grab your helmet, check your smoke detectors, and join us as we spark some fascinating discussions about fire protection engineering.
Let's get started on today's episode of the Fire Protection Engineering Podcast.
Good morning. I'm Ben Casey, fire protection engineer.
And I'm Kelly Kidwell, fire protection engineer.
So what are we going through today, Kelly?
Today we are doing early hits of the meme posting. So these are, I guess I started 3 years ago, sometime in 2021. I probably should have had better record keeping because LinkedIn no longer says what actual date I posted it on, just 3 years ago. But this is one of my very first memes. And like I said, I think I said in a past podcast, but the sprinkler people are just crazy. They're always showing up in droves. But this is a sprinkler meme. It's the one where the guy is holding the knife, threatening the other guy. I forget what website are these pictures from. They're from like DIY.com or something like that. But it's like a how-to website. So the guy's got a knife threatening the other guy, and the other guy's trying to like de-escalate, like, no. And the guy holding the knife says 2022 edition of NFPA 13. And the guy who's trying to de-escalate is just saying, like, me still processing the 2019 changes. I'm still processing the 2019 changes. I can't find anything in NFPA 13 anymore. And I feel like half the jurisdictions still use 2016 anyway.
Yeah, I was
So,
just gonna say they're all using older ones anyway. And then at some point, I remember the the standard had a million chapters mm, added to it with all of the storage and commodity requirements. I guess that was even further back. That was a big change.
mhm.
Took forever to figure out.
Well, and I do agree, like the 2019 changes were kind of needed. They were, a better organized, made it kind of putting all those storage requirements in, their own chapters, kind of isolated from the rest of the standards. So if, they're not applicable to your job, you can just ignore those entire chapters. But I still can't find anything.
Yeah,
I should
this
make an
is,
updated one.
I mean, there also used
2025
to be,
edition.
there used to be, I guess, a more structured way where it showed the changes. Um, It seems to be a little trickier lately, like they've kind of gone backwards in comparing this one standard to the next. I guess it's hard to do because if things move around, it's how do you show that? It's not like something was eliminated, it was just moved.
Right, and it
Um,
might not necessarily have even changed. It was just the section number changed. So I don't know. I have pity. I have pity on the committee.
yeah, I guess this just speaks to everybody's typical woes and, you know, the value proposition behind hiring a fire protection engineer. Things
That is
change
true.
and we need to follow it, right? So
Yep.
who wouldn't relate to this post, right?
The more things change, the more they stay the same. All right, next up. No, that one didn't perform very well. All right, this one was a top performer. It's the Drake meme where he's saying no, and then on the bottom he's saying yes, pointing his finger and smiling. So the top says no 750 square foot conference room, and the bottom one says yes 735 square foot conference room. And I just posted it with, if you know, you know. Hashtag life safety.
I mean, there's two exits. Wouldn't it be 749 to 750?
I mean, it depends. So it's like if you want to be really sure that the AHJ is not going to question it or make you put in a second exit, you're going to make your conference room 735.
Oh, 735. Sorry, I read it as 750 and 755. So
No,
it's like, I was like, what is going
35.
on? Oh, yes, right. So, right. You go right below
All right,
there.
get your eyes checked, Ben.
Two exits
Oh
are
yeah.
required at the bottom one.
And my
Got
favorite trick
it.
of putting in a countertop so that the net square footage is below 735. Or yeah. Like, oh, this conference room's slightly too big. Let's just put a countertop. They'll need that for meetings and lunches and whatnot. Perfect.
Well, this is the whole interesting realization that folks come to where the law and the code allows you to kill 49 people, but no more. 49 people max, because you only have to have one exit for 49 folks in the space. So that's always that
It probably
strange,
wouldn't
like
kill it wouldn't kill all 49 though. Some crazy guy would just run through it if the door's on fire, not caring. So probably like, I don't know, at least one of those guys. Maybe like
exit
47.
exit blocked, exit blocked, and they're not all getting out. It's 49 max. So it's just like who came up with that number? Like, why was that the number? I have
And
no
why was
idea.
it cut off? Yeah, why was it cut off there? Why wasn't it 47? Why wasn't it 39? Yeah, you got to do it somewhere. It would definitely be helpful to have notes on that. But let's be real, we all know they were just kind of sitting around there like, I don't know, does 49 sound good? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess that's okay. All right, next one.
Hold on, I'm trying to look it up.
Stop.
Take into account that it requires multiple exits, key points to remember. No, all it does is just talk about the 49 and the 50. It doesn't really give like a why. I wonder where the
Yeah.
original
I think it's one
someone
of
need
those things that's just been like inherited and no one's ever like questioned it or went back to the basics to like do the research to make it more scientifically defined. It's just kind of like been a rule of thumb that we've just passed down through the generations of life safety.
Yeah. I remember someone telling me a story about the travel distance between pole stations was just based on some random researcher just being clocked with a stopwatch running down a hallway. It like has just it's not based on any statistical analysis whatsoever. It's just based on that. It's been around since then. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it sounds right. You know, where did some of these
Right.
things come from?
Well, and I think it kind of speaks to the overall like the meta fire protection as well. So we have in this country, we have the model codes and it's just like this is what's worked in the past, so we're going to keep doing it. We don't necessarily have research to back it up beyond, disasters that we've learned from and written into the codes. So now there's like that push. I don't know if you've seen these news stories, but there's that push to make residences, higher than 4 stories with only one exit stair. They're like talking about going up to 6 stories with only one stair.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
almost their argument kind of makes sense. It's like, well, this 4 stories isn't really based on much, so why can't it just be 6 stories?
Well, and it's also
So
in other
FPEs,
countries it's different. So,
hmm
which is realistic reasoning.
well, and which is strange because you really can't. It's like, okay, so if other countries are different and we have these stricter regulations here, then shouldn't you be able to take the fire, like safety, like death and property data, property damage data from that country and compare it to our country? But like you can't because the data is like all collected differently.
Yeah. Yeah, the deaths from fire are measured differently. Different building materials, there's more wood over structures over here. So,
Different infrastructure even, like do they have the same fire flows in the city to even be fighting the fire like from the ground? So it just there's too many variables you can't even out. Anyway, it should be interesting to see what happens with that. Sure, a lot of us will get pulled into those discussions.
so what's next up?
Anyways, all right, next up, like I said, sprinkler people are crazy. This one's from 2 years ago, so posted sometime in 2022. But it had like 330 engagements, which is one of my highest ones ever, I think. So it's the meme of what's his name? Witcher, Superman.
Momoa,
No, no, the Superman
uh,
guy.
Cavill,
Sure, I don't remember his name. And he's standing on the
Pavel. I
red
don't know how to
carpet,
pronounce it. Pavel,
and he's
Cavill.
just like standing there all, posing for his red carpet photos. And it says, "Me thinking this little project won't need a fire pump." And then is Jason Momoa sneaking up on him, and he's labeled EH1 storage room. So,
I have one just recently on a project kickoff meeting. There was a whole discussion by the client, and the entire team was on the call, and they started out by saying, so we as a company do not want or like fire pumps, and we don't want them in the building.
hmm,
So try to make sure that there isn't one. And my response is just laughing at that. It's like I've never been on a single project where a client has said, "Yes, I want a fire pump," like as if like they want to paint it like a bull and ride it on the weekends or something. I mean, I don't even know why
uh,
anyone would ever say the opposite of that. So it's just like, yeah, in every project, the attempt is to determine, a low enough demand, high enough supply in order to avoid it, or a way to design the system away from them. But if they're needed and necessary, they are put in.
right, right,
Um,
yeah. No, no one wants to have to do the maintenance, and I feel like even as engineers, we don't want to have to add that to our clients, like unnecessary equipment that they then have to maintain and replace when it reaches its end of life. So of course we're gonna do our job and find out if it's really necessary to have a fire pump and obviously not put one in if it's not.
yeah.
But yeah, it's
But
always funny when there's a little renovation project or a little something, and you're like, oh, this building is small. Oh, it's only 1 story. It won't need a fire pump. And then there's some huge, lurking, unforeseen, gigantic demand that requires you to put in a fire pump.
well, I may have mentioned this earlier in a project many decades ago where we didn't think there was one needed, trying to save the client money. It turned out we missed a gradient value from a water storage tank and ended up having to put one in after the fact. But at that point, the generator had already been sized, already been ordered, the space had already been
Ugh.
created. Had to, I mean, put it in, but had to put a diesel pump in. And so, everything that comes with diesel exhaust, et cetera, had to go into the building.
Fuel
Um,
tank. Oof.
that's one I will always remember and have never done since. But that's the kind of monstrosity that keeps you up at night, right? Um,
Yeah. I can't wait
it's
for
an interesting
natural
problem.
natural gas powered fire pumps. That'll be fun if that ever does happen.
Hydrogen powered fire pumps.
Hydrogen fuel cell fire pump. That would be sick. Oh, hey. All right. This is an early great 2022. It's the Boromir from the Council of Elrond, and he's going, one does not simply, and I made him say, one does not simply change the occupancy. Because this was, so it was 2022, and, post pandemic, all of these offices were basically sitting vacant in downtowns. And I mean, honestly, a lot of them still are. So all these news articles about conversions, like we should convert all these offices into apartments and condos and blah, 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 blah. And just all these dumb journalists who don't know what they're talking about demanding things. Like, okay, you can't just take a gigantic office floor plate and turn it into apartments because it wouldn't be to code and it wouldn't be pleasant, honestly. But I have seen some good conversions. I haven't worked on one personally, but I've seen, like videos and articles about them.
Well, that's
But yeah, this
also
one did some pretty good numbers, like 314 engagements.
it's the same reasoning as the single exit stare is that the housing stock is down and housing prices are skyrocketing and they have a housing crisis in a lot of areas. And so restrictions that are far more onerous than they are in other countries, that seems like low-hanging fruit to address piece of that overarching problem. Same thing here. If you have, Class A office has very low vacancy rates, but Class B and C, you either can renovate it, refurbish it up to latest codes, or try to change it into what seems like there's a greater demand, which is in the residential market now. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's trying to weigh the prices between both and removing some of those regulations in order to address the housing shortage um, is something that's on the table, whether we think it makes sense or not. Obviously, code consultants and fire protection engineers need to be in that conversation. I'm aware that
Yeah.
states are enacting legislation to loosen
Well,
some of these
so
restrictions for that reason.
what do you think about the big question of does a bedroom in a fully sprinklered building that has code compliant fire alarm need to have an exterior window? That is the big question. And I think that's what's holding back a lot of those conversions. I mean, I think
Well,
from
I don't know if I'd
like
want to live in that apartment,
exactly, I wouldn't want to live there.
regardless of the safety issues.
You wouldn't need blackout curtains though.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the big question that it comes down to. I feel like that's besides the whole exit, the two exits. The other question is, does a bedroom need a window?
All right.
We
What
shall
what
see. Only time will tell.
what number are we getting to for
All right,
today?
let's do one more because this
Okay.
is the fourth one, I believe. All right. The next one is another common theme of crapping on architects. Uh, it's the Pablo Escobar, like from the Netflix Narcos, and it's got the three screenshots of him just looking off, like into the distance, being all sad, sitting on a swing, sitting at a dinner table, standing in an empty pool. So the first one, when he's sitting on the swing, says, "When you aren't awarded the life safety consulting contract." And then the next one says, "Quote, the architects are going to do it." And then standing in the pool, "Their height and area calculation is wrong." So
I,
that got a
I
lot of that got a lot of love and laughs from
I feel like this one, a similar theme was posted later, like a couple of years later. You're starting to repeat themes, but with different
with different
text on the
memes.
memes and different memes.
Same
Yeah.
same theme, different meme.
No, it's probably why this is a good stopping point on our meme rundown. I see
Yeah.
there are 9 comments on this one from years ago. Anything good other than we agree?
Someone posted another meme that was the Buzz Lightyear and Woody when he's like saying code violations everywhere. Uh, Someone else replied, and when their permit application is denied, they come running to you, expecting you to drop everything and solve their issues in 1 day or less. And someone replied, "You get a full day?" It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I guess, standard of care with the profession discipline that we are and licensed professionals, we probably still need to do a cursory review of the life safety plans, even if it's in our scope or not. A lot of it relates and dictates the fire protection system requirements or whatever may be in scope technically. So it's just one of those things you should always be watching out for
Yes.
and hoping you work with a good client, good architect.
Yeah. It's really hit or miss among architects, I feel like. Some are really great and a lot. I don't know if it's because they're not great or they just are focused on other things and don't devote
Yeah,
enough time.
focused on other things, I'm sure. Or just haven't seen the types of projects, right? I mean, we see hundreds, thousands of projects in our career. They see, a factor of 10 less,
That's
just they have
true.
so much more work to do on a per project
Very
basis. So
true.
so that one job might have had, specific codes in a specific jurisdiction, or they even work in studios, so they may not even ever been exposed to a certain type of project. That,
Right.
as fire protection code consultants, we see all types of things as well as solutions and equivalencies we've done elsewhere that we can reference and potentially use as a basis to fix a problem that we can't figure out. So there you
Again,
go.
Ben, highlighting the value of having a experienced FPE on your design team.
There you go. This wasn't supposed to be all bashing on architects.
No,
Some of
we
them
love
are
architects. They do the
architects do
pretty
great
things
work.
that we don't care about. So our buildings look better because of them, obviously.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, I think that's the end of the meme overview. Maybe we'll get back to it in a few months when some more are posted and out there with comments, but we'll, uh, we'll start doing some interviews and different things next.
All
Thanks,
right.
Kelly.
Until next time.
Good talking to you. Bye bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Fire Protection Engineering Podcast.
We hope you found today's discussion as illuminating as a well-designed sprinkler system. That makes no sense. Remember, fire protection engineering is all about making spaces safer for everyone.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And don't forget to share the podcast with anyone you think could benefit from it.
Got questions or topics you'd like us to cover? Drop us a line on social media or through our website. We love hearing from our listeners.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, safety is no accident. Until next time, stay safe and keep engineering for a safer world.
See you next time on the Fire Protection Engineering Podcast.